Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to the info session on the J1 Exchange Visitor Program at GSU. So the J1 program has been developed to implement Mutual Educational and Cultural Exchange Act of 1961. So it's been around for a very long time. And at GSU, it's been around probably close to 10 years or so. And the overall purpose and objective is to increase mutual understanding between the people of the US and people of other countries by means of educational and cultural exchanges. So really a broad purpose here, but definitely a good purpose. And at GSU, we are able to accept 3 different categories. So we can accept a short-term scholar, a research scholar, or a professor. So I'll be going over what each of these are. The short-term scholar is here really to lecture, observe, consult, train staff, or demonstrate special skills. So it wouldn't be for someone who wants to do research per se. That would be under the research scholar category. So their position at GSU could be visiting scholar, predoctoral fellow, a specialized non-research, non-staff position. And they would need to be a professor, research scholar, or a person with similar education or accomplishments in their home country. So the minimum we would expect would be a bachelor's degree, but usually they're at the master's or doctoral level. And the thing with the short-term scholar is that they can stay as little as 1 day in the US, but only up to 6 months. Exchange visitors do have these like bars, and in this case, the exchange visitor who has recently participated in an exchange program as a professor or research scholar in the US are not expected to re-enter the US as a short-term scholar to rejoin their original sponsor because that would be instead a continuation of the original program objective. Research scholars are here to primarily conduct research, observe, consult, or teach. So we do tend to see the majority of our scholars come here as research scholars. And so there's a lot of different areas where they can do research. And one thing to keep in mind is they can also teach or lecture where they are authorized. They can be considered a visiting scholar, predoctoral fellow, postdoctoral fellow, research associate, but they cannot be a candidate for tenure track position. They would be expected to have at least a bachelor's degree as well. And the duration must be a minimum of 3 weeks, but could be up to 5 years. There's a lot of flexibility here, and I see more often research scholars coming for 1 year, and then if they want, they can extend it. They also have 24-month and 12-month potential bars, which I'll speak of a little bit later. There's the professor position, which would be to teach as their primary focus, and then they can also lecture, observe, consult, or do research. The position at GSU would be a lecturer, visiting faculty, visiting scholar, and they can also now be a candidate for tenure track. Once again, they would have to have at least a bachelor's degree, and this could be 3 weeks to 5 years as well. And the potential bars are 24 months and 12 months. Talking more about the 24 and 12-month bars, the 24-month bar is on repeat participation. So exchange participants who have entered the US under the exchange visitor program as a professor or research scholar, or who have acquired such status while in the US and who have completed his or her program, are not eligible for participation as a professor or research scholar for a period of 2 years following the end date of such participation. So they kind of have to have this break. And that's just to ensure that they're not just continuously on the same visa doing the same types of projects. The 12-month bar is after previous participation, so they're not eligible to begin an exchange program as a professor or research scholar. To begin a new program if he or she was physically present in any J1 status or J2 status, which would be the dependent of a J1, for all or part of the 12-month period immediately preceding the date of program commencement. This, is something that we can look at, once you know who you might want to invite. Typically, they have not been J1 scholars before, but if they have been, then this is just something we need to keep in mind. So how to apply? First of all, you'll want to identify an exchange visitor, and then you can let the Office of International Services know about what you're thinking. And it's good to discuss the possibility of support with your department as well, just to kind of give them a heads up and say, listen, I'm looking to invite the scholar here, and some things to be aware of, or that your department and OIS may want to know, is when do you expect to have the scholar at GSU, and what will he or she be doing? What's the purpose? We do not typically support the exchange visitor financially. So typically they might be funded by their government to do research and bring it back. They might be funded by their institution, or if necessary, they may be using personal funds. Maybe they're working on postdoctorate and they wanted to be here and do the research here. Once you've talked with OIS and your department, it would be good to start collecting documents that are needed from the exchange visitor and filling out the necessary paperwork to receive approval from your department. We do currently have a form that is in a hard copy that can be moved through email. We are looking to convert this process to our international portal, but we are just working out kind of all the details on that still. Upon approval from your department, OIS will create a document for them called the DS 2019, which will allow them to apply for a visa. Once the scholar receives the visa, they can set up the arrival plans with the sponsor and the Office of International Services. We just like to have an idea of when they expect to arrive. They might have questions about how to get to GSU, or maybe even where to live. So it's good to kind of all be in touch and help them with any of those questions. The scholar must check in with OIS within 2 weeks of arrival, and they must provide proof of health insurance. They can arrive up to 30 days prior to their program start date. So the documents that we'll need from the exchange visitor are the passport biographical page, their CV, proof of financial support. So $1,000 for each month of stay in the US. If it's not in their name, then they would need an affidavit of support. We would let them know that we need that if necessary. They'll fill out the application form from our office, and then they will also provide the letter of invitation from the sponsor, which has the program dates and description of research and duties. We do see dependents pretty often come, whether it's a spouse or children. So we will need the biographical pages of each passport of the dependent, and the scholar will also need to show $500 per month per dependent as part of their financial support, and they must be listed on the application form. Then the sponsor from GSU will assist with collecting the documents from the exchange visitor, they will approve the level of English. So we do need to, confirm that this person has a good enough level of English to do research and to function in the US. And there's, different, I guess, guidelines that the scholar can use to confirm that. But in any case, they will sign off on the form that they have sufficient knowledge of English. The sponsor will also fill out the department administrative forms and submit everything for signatures to the chair, dean, and provost. Once all the signatures are collected, they can send it back to OIS so that we can create the DS 2019. So the responsibilities of the sponsor are really, one, to ensure that the exchange visitor participates in the activities and or duties that they've come to do, that they also ensure that they do not engage in unauthorized activities professionally or academically. So one of the key things is, okay, we're going to write on the DS 2019 what their purpose is here. And we do try to keep it a little bit broad so that they have some flexibility, but they do need to stay within that, that field and that purpose. If they are invited to do a lecture at another institution or present at a conference or any sort of activity outside of GSU that has not already been authorized, then we do need prior authorization through the Office of International Services. So that's just something to keep in mind, and especially if they are getting paid for it. But in any case, it's just good to kind of run any additional activities through our office to ensure that it's fine to do that. And then the other item is to ensure that the exchange visitor maintains required medical insurance coverage for him or herself and all dependents. That's something that actually my office will check when they check in with us within the first 2 weeks of arrival. We'll collect their insurance information and just make sure that it's all par with what is required and that it covers them throughout their stay. And some of the expectations are to be a point of contact and support for the exchange visitor throughout their time in the U.S., welcome them to the U.S. and GSU upon arrival. When possible, pick them up at the airport, give them a campus tour and show them a space on campus where they can do their research. I know not all departments may have an extra office space, so if that's the case, you can still maybe show them the library and some quiet areas where they can be when they're here on campus. Or maybe there's a common faculty area in your department that they can also use. It's also encouraged to invite them to any family outings or dinners, holiday celebrations, include them in your life as much as you can within reason, so that they can really benefit from that mutual exchange. And encourage them to participate in events on campus, introduce them to colleagues, have them present at research day. That's always a great opportunity, especially if they are doing research. All right, so that's just a brief overview of our J1 Exchange Visitor Program. I'm going to, before I stop sharing, I actually want to mention that we really are hoping to build our J1 program and have at least 5 scholars per year come to GSU. I know that, maybe it could be a bit of a challenge if we're not offering any financial support, but it's something that, as an institution, we would love to see grow, and we encourage faculty to invite a scholar to GSU. So thank you very much. I will be stopping recording this now and we'll answer any questions. Okay, good. From the recording standpoint.